Hi, I'm Alexis, just an ordinary cook. It's Halloween, my favorite time of year, and I'm throwing a Halloween party. So come on in and watch me make some really creepy, yummy good things. A little while later, we're going to have a special guest, Arachna of the Spider People. She's coming to help us decorate and make this place really spooky. So what's on the menu? Thank you, Hand. Deviled eggs that look like eyeballs, mushrooms that also look like eyeballs, cauliflower brains, mini pizzas with ghosts, mummy weenies, cupcakes, and chocolate chips that look like witches' fingers. So let's get started. Want to give me a hand? The hardest thing about throwing a party is your timing and your planning. First, you have to figure your theme, which is Halloween. Then you have to get your decorations. We're going to do that a little bit later, but be sure you decorate your house before you start cooking. Then you get your menu. We've got that, all your ingredients, and then you have to figure out how to cook all this so that it ends up at the same time. You don't want to be cooking when your guests arrive. A lot of these things have the same temperature in the oven, so let's figure out how we're going to get this all done at the same time. The deviled eggs, of course, we've got to cook an egg. We're going to get our pot with some water and take our eggs, gently place them in with the water, covering the eggs just slightly. Start with cold water, and then we're going to heat it on medium-high. And when the eggs start boiling, we're going to shut them off, keep the lid on, and let them sit for another 15 minutes. Then we're going to put them in an ice bath to stop the cooking. Then we're going to peel them and turn them into deviled eggs. Not hard. The next thing on our menu are cauliflower brains. Now you can buy a whole cauliflower, or you can just buy the florets in a package. I chose to just buy the florets because ultimately you're going to be eating one piece at a time and you don't want to be cutting this brain. So what we're going to do is steam them. We have in a pot a nice little steamer. We're going to take our cauliflower, dump them in, put them on the eye, and boil them until a knife sticking in them is soft, and then it's ready to eat. So now we're going to get our oven going. We're going to set it to 350 because we're going to make witches' fingers out of chocolate chip dough. Now you can make chocolate chip dough the normal way in a mixer and sugar and all that other stuff, or if you're in a hurry, you can buy the pre-made chocolate chip cookie dough. So what we're going to do is we're going to open the dough and we're going to form little fingers, and we're going to use almonds for fingernails. So first thing we're going to do is get our pan ready. So let's get the dough out. This is kind of gooey. So we're going to roll them like snakes. Remember when you were in kindergarten, you made snakes out of clay. We're going to get a little tiny snake. We're going to take a fingernail, stick it in there, and then we're going to lay them all out. Be sure to leave room for them to spread, because as they cook, they're going to get maybe twice, maybe 3 times the size of what you put down. So we're going to squeeze out some more dough. Make a nice big long snake. This is kind of fun. Oh, I hear the eggs boiling. Let me turn off the heat. Okay, now we have our fingers right here on our cookie sheet. We're going to put them in the 350-degree oven for about 13 minutes. I'm going to say 12 just in case. And I see that our cauliflower is boiling. Going to have to test it with a knife. Nope, not quite done. Let that keep going. The eggs had boiled, so I'm going to leave them there. This time is kind of the same time that I'm going to leave these sit. So let's do the next thing. And who doesn't like cupcakes? You can buy them, you can make them. They're pretty simple. Decorating them makes them spooky. You can take little pics like this that show somebody rising out of the grave of a cupcake. a little gravestone, RIP, a little bat, maybe a ring with a spider, maybe another ring with a bat, maybe some false teeth for a vampire. So there you have it, scary cupcakes. So the next thing we're going to make are stuffed mushrooms. So when you buy your mushrooms, make sure that they're about the size, well, of an eyeball, because they will shrink a little bit. And then you want to clean all of that dark, looks like dirt off of them, so that they are nice and clean. You also want to take the stems off. And they're really easy. You grab your mushroom and just kind of grab the stem and it rocks right out. We're going to chop all of the stems pretty finely. You're going to chop some onion. You're also going to have some breadcrumbs and a little bit of cheese. So here's how it goes. We're going to saute all of this in some butter, and then we're going to saute all of these ingredients together, let them render themselves down, but then when we're done, stuff the stuffing into the mushrooms, put them on a pan, and bake them at 350 for another maybe 13 minutes. Okay, so the butter is now melted, looks pretty good, coating the bottom of the pan. And then I'm going to dump in the mushroom stems, kind of get them all moistened by the butter. Then our onions, get all those out. Now the onions will produce water while they're cooking, so you're going to maybe end up with a little bit of extra liquid. But that's okay. Put that in there, turn this down a little bit, and I'm going to put a lid on it and let it just kind of cook a little bit. Then we'll come back and finish. Okay, so it looks like our cookies might be done. Let's pull them out. And oh yes, look at our wonderful little witch's fingers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put them on this cooling rack. Okay, now that it's cooked down a little bit more, we're going to add some breadcrumbs. Okay, just about a half a cup or a quarter cup, whatever feels right for the volume of mushrooms that you have. And so the breadcrumbs are going to absorb some of that butter. And so you're going to have some really good stuffing here. At this point, you may or may not want to add a little salt and a little pepper. I really like this salt and pepper shaker because it's all in one place. So that, kind of mix it around. And I think what I'm going to do is turn it off, put the lid on it, and let those breadcrumbs absorb all of the butter. So now the stuffing for our mushrooms is done. We're going to stuff them. I'm going to get a spoon, maybe 2 spoons, that way it goes a little faster. Take our lid off. Doesn't that look good? Yum, yum. Okay, so now we're going to take this and stuff it down in there, and then put yum. Then put them on the pan. Now we're going to cook these at 350, which the oven is, for about, I don't know, 13 minutes, I think is what the recipe said. And then that way they're going to cook down a little bit, become a little juicier. And when we're done stuffing them, I forgot to tell you, we're going to put cheese on top. That makes them even better. So, depending on how many people are at your party, you might say they'd eat 2 or 3 of these, or if they were me, they'd probably eat 5 or 6 of them. But just plan accordingly with how many mushrooms that you buy. Okay. Or you could make some of them a little fuller. Okay, so the last part of this is we're going to put some little cheese pieces that I've pre-cut. I'm using Monterey Jack just to give it a little zest, a little zing. And this way, they're going to look kind of like eyeballs because the cheese is white. And if you really want to make them look like eyeballs, you can take black olives that are sliced and put that right in the middle. Then you're going to have a whole bunch of mushrooms looking back at you. Okay, so now we have our little mushrooms with their eyeballs, and we're going to put them in an oven for 350 degrees for maybe 12-14 minutes. Okay, I think our cookies have cooled off enough that we can take them off the cookie pan and put them on the rack. And they look kind of spooky. Well, if not spooky, they look weird. So I guess that qualifies for spooky. So now that our eggs have been sitting for a while in the hot water, we're going to drain the hot water off and put them in an ice bath. I have a bowl here with some ice cubes and water in it. This will stop the cooking. Then what we're going to do is let them sit for a little while and peel them. While we're waiting, we're going to make mummy weenies. What are mummy weenies, you say? Well, they are weenies that are wrapped up in crescent dough. And so, let's see here. You can make a whole weenie, or you can cut them in half and it would go twice as far. So, since we have maybe 12 or so people coming and there's only 8 weenies, I'm going to cut them in half. So the first thing is to open the package. These always scare me. Get it open and then it goes boom. Okay. Let's see here. Boom. Alrighty. So we got the dough, the crescent dough. And what we're going to do here is roll it out and make one big dough out of it. Now, if you have a rolling pin, now is the time to use it, or you can just use your fingers, or in a pinch, I've been known to use a drinking glass. So we're going to roll this all together. Alrighty, that looks pretty good. So, what we're going to do is we're going to get a pan. I pre-sprayed this pan, so you don't want it to stick. I'm going to take the cutter and cut my little weenies in half, more or less. And then I'm going to cut strips. So these are going to be the mummy's bindings, or claws, or whatever they wrap mummies up in. Okay, we're going to take a strip, we got our weenie, and we're just sort of going to wrap this around the weenie so that when it's baked, it looks kind of like a wrapped up mummy. Some people like to put a piece of cheese in there. That would work. They could also put a little bit of mustard on it, although I like to dip them in mustard after they're done. Now see, this one's too long, so we'll make it go like that. And this one's too short. So, all right, so we're going to stick this in the oven for about 13 minutes. Now the mushrooms are looking pretty good, but they're getting melted, they're getting cooked, and I'd say we have another 10 minutes and they're done. Let's take a look at our cauliflower, and we're going to put it together and make a brain. The cauliflower is cooked really well. You can see it's nice and soft. We're going to drain off the liquid. And we're going to put it on this wonderful little plate. Okay, so what are we going to do here? We're going to make a brain with cheese sauce. Who doesn't like cheese sauce on their brains? But we're going to take this and we're going to sort of mound it together. Don't squish it too hard or you'll break the cauliflower. And then what we're going to do is take what I have here, salsa con queso. So this will be a little spicy, and we're just going to put that on the top of this brain, let it gush in, and then when we go to eat it, we're going to take a toothpick or a fork or whatever is handy, grab some of this, and pull off a piece. Okay, so pretty creepy looking brain. Now it's time to make some deviled egg eyeballs. Our eggs have been sitting in the water, they've cooled down, and it's time to crack and peel. One way that I like to crack eggs is you crack them a little bit and then you roll them until the cracks are everywhere. Pretty much everywhere. That way you have an easier time of peeling them. Although I've heard that if you have eggs that are several days or weeks old, that they peel a lot easier. These aren't too bad. The thing is getting past a membrane. There's this membrane that's right under the shell, and if you don't get that peeled off, then everything breaks apart. But this egg looks pretty good. So we're going to get them all peeled and cracked. Okay, now we have our little eggs all peeled. Make sure, inspect them, make sure that you don't have any shells on them. And then we're going to cut them in half. So all those little eyes are looking at you. You'll find that this is really easy and painless to make deviled eggs. We take the yolks and we put them in a food processor. And then, after we get them all in there, we're going to add whatever makes them deviled, which is basically mayonnaise and mustard. I like to use Poupon mustard because it's a little spicier, but you can use, I don't know, vinegar or anything else to give it kind of a tart flavor. Okay, so now we have those in there, and we take our Poupon mustard, and here's where you sort of eyeball it. I just sort of put a little bit in there, and then we come to the mayonnaise, and I'm going to spoon this out. And we have, I don't know, what is that, a quarter cup of mayonnaise? What we're going to do is we're going to put all of this in here. We have a blade in there. I'm going to start the food processor. And that looks pretty good. So we have it kind of thick, doesn't slip off your finger, and it tastes pretty good. So now we're going to stuff our eggs. I like to use this wonderful little cookie press. Using a large opening, I take the egg mixture, or the egg yolk mixture, and I put it in here, and I like to pipe it in the middle because that way it gives it kind of a flare, and it doesn't take a whole lot of time. So now that we have our eggs all arranged on the plate, we're going to start piping the mixture inside, make it kind of fancy. And you can see it doesn't take but, well, quarter of a second, half a second, not a lot. So now the final thing to make your eyeballs is you can take your black olive slices, and they're going to look like eyeballs. Okay, so here comes the fun part. We're going to make these eyeballs look really scary by making them bloodshot. I'm going to take a little bit of food coloring, put it in a dish, and a toothpick. So now we're going to take the toothpick and draw it on the white of the egg to make it look like, well, bloodshot. So this way, they really look like they're spooky. Nothing scarier than pizza. Well, ghost pizza, that is, or skull pizza, or a pumpkin pizza. We're going to use pre-made pizza dough. And again, this is the scary part because it goes boom. Alrighty, so we're going to roll it out a little bit. And now we're going to use some cookie cutters, which in this case are pizza cutters. So we have a pumpkin shape, So we're gonna take that, put it on the plate. We're gonna take a ghost shape and make a little ghost shape guy. So here we have some sliced mozzarella cheese. And what we're gonna do is take the same cookie cutter and we're gonna cut out the same shape to match the shape of dough. We need to put a little pizza sauce on there. So just take a little bit, put it on there, and then take the little ghost shape and match them up. We're gonna cut out the shape of the pumpkin, and then we're gonna take this one and it cuts out the eyes and the mouth. And so what we're gonna do is pull those off, and we have a little smiling pumpkin. So we'll put him over, and that way the pizza dough shows through. So now we're gonna cook the pizzas at 425, I think they said, for about 12 minutes. And the last thing I'm gonna make are fingerling potatoes fingers. These are kind of scary looking. They look already like fingers. They're just small potatoes. So anyhow, what we're gonna do, we're gonna put a little olive oil on them, rub it in. That way when they cook, they'll be kind of crispy on the outside. And what we're gonna do to speed things up is I'm gonna throw them in the microwave. And that way you could do this at the very last minute. If you want to be really creepy, I bought these plastic severed fingers. Now you need to make sure that they're clean, and I was planning on putting them on the plate just to get a reaction out of my guests. So there they are, some really creepy potato fingers. So how are we going to transform this normal dining room into a spooky Halloween party? Well, I've invited my friend, Arachne of the Spider People, hostess of Beware Theater, to come and help me decorate. If anyone knows a spooky environment, she does. Thank you, Alexis. I'm so happy to be here, and of course I'll help you transform this common room into something spooky. First thing we do, we get rid of picture, not spooky. The next thing we do is change the lighting. It's way too bright in here. If you want it spooky, you have to have it a little darker. Easy way to do that is go to store, find little orange Halloween twinkle lights, and we hang them on the wall all the way around the room. Turn all the other lights off, and it'll still be light enough you can see your food and each other, but it'll be so cozy and spooky. Next, we get rid of tablecloth and fruit and flowers and bring in black tablecloth for creepy effect. This is pretty big table, so we have big, long black cloth that goes almost to floor. I like it that way because then it hides anything you put under the table. But if you think all black is too creepy, we brighten it up a little bit. I'm adding second tablecloth on top of black tablecloth that has little pumpkins on it. So if you have any kids or people who are squeamish about creepy stuff, you can brighten up your table. Now we need a centerpiece, something big and spectacular, like maybe one of these, but that's so plain. Now here's another way to make it spectacular presentation. I have one of these wonderful little misting fountains. We put that in the middle, and just you wait and see how spooky this gets. I'm not sure exactly how this works. They say it pulverizes water. It sounds pretty good. We have a little control. You plug it in, put the little lid on, but first you have to put in water. So we put water in up until it covers the little thing inside that lights up. Then we plug it in, and you can see it's already lit up. This little control here, you can change the color and the speed, whether you want it to blink a lot, turn blue, purple, whatever. So now that we have mist all over our table, we figure out where we're going to put the food. First thing of serving on long table is don't have all your plates just sitting on the surface of the table. That looks pretty boring. So what we want is different levels. You can achieve that if you have some kind of plate holder like this, or a really cool one like this that opens out, and you can put 4 plates at different levels like that. That way your guests are not bored, number one, by looking at your food, and let's hope they're not bored by eating your food, but it makes a nice presentation. Same with this little guy. Now, if you don't have fancy plate holder like this, you can always take a bowl and turn it upside down underneath your plate. Anything to make different levels. Next, we set out the plates that people are going to use, and I like to put them at one end. And I do have kind of spooky black plates. You can use paper plates, you can use real plates. These are kind of plastic, but they are very spooky. Then you have your knives, forks, and spoons. I found at dollar store this little bloody kind of thing here that we can put them in. And for napkins, you can use paper napkins. I like to use real napkins. I think they're elegant. Anyhow, a nice fun thing for napkin ring are the little vampire false teeth. You can take those and put them through, and then everybody gets a false teeth and a napkin. What a deal. So we put those out so that when your guests come, they can start and work their way around the table. So now we want to add a little more atmosphere to our table. And like my friend Liberace used to say, never go nowhere without your candelabras. Now these, for safety's sake, these I bought on the internet. They're battery powered, and you just twist them and they come on. So no fire danger here. But it's still not enough atmosphere. I know what we do, more twinkle lights. Okay. So we take more twinkle lights and we put them down the table underneath the candelabras next to the plates. Wait a minute, it still doesn't look spooky. That's because I didn't turn it on yet. Hold on, I'll show you. So what did I tell you? Pretty creepy looking table for your spooky Halloween party. We have mist and candles and twinkle lights, and of course the wonderful food you made. We have the mummy weenies and the eyeball eggs and the mushrooms and the cauliflower brains, and also the cookies and the cupcakes and the pizzas. So remember to be fearless when you're cooking. It's only food. It's almost Halloween, maybe even tonight, and you might want to watch Beware Theater on Friday nights, hosted by, well, me, Arachna of the Spider People. Join Deadly and me as we watch classic horror movies from the golden age of black and white. So until next time, or not, this is Arachna of the Spider People, wishing you nighty-night. And don't let any monsters in your Halloween party bite you in the neck. That's gross. So now it's time to party. And we've got wonderful, yummy, creepy food and a real creepy atmosphere. All that's left is for you to come on down and have a good time. And don't forget what you-know-who used to say, bon appetit.
Ha 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 ha!